Well, welcome back to another Game Week Predictions video. Today we're looking at Game Week 28, but as we always do, we're going to take a look back at my Game Week 27 predictions, see how well I did, see if my ball knowledge has improved. Spoiler alert, probably not. Let's be honest here. So we're going to look at Saturday's fixtures first. I'm going to start with Bournemouth versus Liverpool. And I predicted 5-1 to Liverpool. It's 1-0 to Bournemouth. Great start. I said it could happen, and it did. After battering United, Liverpool could not overcome Bournemouth. Credit to Bournemouth for holding on, but also Salah. What was that penalty, man? What was that penalty? Then move on to Leeds United versus Brighton Hove Albion. I predicted 3-0 to Brighton. It's actually a 2-2 draw. Now Leeds earned a massive point as they managed to hold a very strong Brighton side to a draw. Leeds came back from behind twice to get something from this clash, but March was honestly robbed of a goal. And I'm not just saying that because he's on my FPL. Yeah, well done from Leeds though. Brighton are a tough side and they managed to hold them to a draw, so fair play. And then move on to Everton versus Brentford. I predicted 1-0 to Brentford. It was 1-0 to Everton. And it was a Dwight McNeil screamer within 35 seconds that sealed the vital 3 points for the Toffees. The Bees tried to level it up, but just could not find the back of the net no matter how hard they tried. Then move on to Leicester City versus Chelsea. I predicted a 1-1 draw. It was actually 3-1 to Chelsea. And it was a former Leicester man who opened the scoring. Mudryk also thought he bagged his first in a Chelsea shirt, but he still beat the 007 allegations by assisting Chelsea's third goal. Leicester didn't really look in the match at all, to be honest. And then move on to Tottenham Hotspur versus Nottingham Forest. I predicted 3-0 to Tottenham. It was actually 3-1. Forest once again looked awful away as Tottenham just cruised to 3 points. They never really got out of third gear, to be honest. The margins could have been tighter had Ayew scored his penalty. Unfortunately it was saved. But Joe Worrell has more goals than Richarlison this season, so swings and roundabouts, I guess. And then move on to Crystal Palace versus Manchester City. I predicted 4-1 to City. It was actually just 1-0. Now Palace, they held out well, but when Haaland is shooting from the spot, it's very unlikely that he's going to miss. There wasn't much to separate the sides otherwise. The title race is still alive, and it's really heating up coming into these final matches. Then move on to Sunday's fixtures, and we're going to start off with Manchester United versus Southampton. I predicted 3-0 to Manchester United. It's actually 0-0 draw, and Casemiro saw red as United failed to break down the Saints in their own backyard. Neither team could find the back of the net and had to settle for a point apiece. A huge point that it could prove to be for Southampton though, as they desperately need all the points they can get at the moment. Then move on to West Ham United versus Aston Villa. Now I predicted 2-1 to Villa. It was actually a 1-0 draw, and the Cloud and Blue derby saw the Hammers climb out of the relegation zone with a vital point. However, Villa were the ones that opened the scoring, and as Ben Ramo came from behind to salvage a very important point for West Ham. Then move on to Fulham versus Arsenal. I predicted 2-1 to the Arsenal. It was actually 3-0, and Arsenal kept their title hopes alive with a very convincing win over the Cottagers. Trossard assisted each goal and has proven himself to be a brilliant signing for the Gunners. We knew there was a player in there at Brighton, but he's just elevated himself at Arsenal. It's very impressive to see. Finally, for the Sunday fixtures, we're going to look at Newcastle versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. I predicted 2-0 to Newcastle. It's actually 2-1. It was Isak who nodded Newcastle ahead, but then an absolute howler at the back saw Wolves level. But that man Almiron had other ideas and managed to seal all 3 points for Newcastle United, keeping their European hopes very alive. Then move on to Wednesday's fixtures, and we start off with Southampton versus Brentford. I predicted 3-0 to Brentford. It was actually just 2-0. It was a chance for Southampton to move off the bottom of the table, and they fluffed their lines. Ivan Toney was at the heart of the Saints' misery though, as he both opened the scoring and assisted the goal at the death. Southampton never really looked at the races. And then move on to Brighton Hove Albion versus Crystal Palace. I predicted 3-1 to Brighton. It was actually just 1-0, and it was Solly March who scored in the 15th minute on the 15th of March to open the scoring. It was practically written in the stars. Brighton played well, but only managed to score that one goal. Brighton played well, to be fair, and dominated large portions of the match, but they could not score another goal. Palace looked more threatening in the second half, but Brighton hung on to claim all 3 points. A huge Derby Day win for Brighton. So yeah, those were my Game Week 27 predictions. As you saw, I got none of them right, but I think that's to be expected at this point. Like, apparently I just can't predict football matches. Who guessed? We're going to move on to the Game Week 28 predictions now. Hopefully, I can get at least one right. That'd be the dream. I'm going to start with the Friday fixture of Nottingham Forest versus Newcastle United. Now this is a huge match for Forest as they risk sliding further into a relegation battle, and also a big match for Newcastle United too to help their European qualification hopes. Forest have seen a dip in form in their past few games, and that's seen Forest slowly slide into the danger zone. Newcastle's form on the other hand hasn't been great either, only pick up their first league win since mid-January, and that was against Wolves. So I'm going to back the boys. It's going to be 2-1 Forest. I'm backing Forest here. Forest at home are a different side to when they play away. It's definitely night and day. We don't look like a professional side sometimes when we play away, but at home, we're decent. And, you know, that's what's keeping us in it at the moment. The City Ground atmosphere will be bumping once again, urging the Reds on. Newcastle are a good side, no doubt, but their recent form shows they're still not performing at their best. Brennan Johnson could be out for Forest, which would be a huge loss, but at the time of recording, it's very touch and go whether he'll actually be in the squad. Even without Brennan Johnson, we've got some good players, and I still feel Forest can overcome the Magpies. Come on you Reds. And then move on to Brentford versus Leicester City. Now this is another clash between two sides who've been experiencing very different seasons. Brentford are currently enjoying a pretty successful season, currently sitting in 8th place, whereas Leicester on the other hand are just out of the relegation zone on goal difference. Everton shattered Brentford's 12-game unbeaten run, so they'll be looking to stop another one here. They've already picked up one win against Southampton, so they'll be looking to, you know, get another one here against Leicester. Brentford are a much better side at home as well and are currently unbeaten in 6 league matches at home, which does not bode well for the Foxes. Leicester, on the other hand, are not enjoying that same level of success, losing their last 4 matches. While they did look bright when Maddison returned, they've kind of fallen off since. I'm going to say 2-0 to Brentford. I think Brentford will be able to handle Leicester here, especially at home. Brentford are great defensively, with Raya performing really well this season, and a backline that's also putting up some solid performances. Leicester's attack hasn't been as effective in recent matches, and I think Brentford should be able to shut them out. But hey, they might drop a clanger, you never know. But I highly doubt it. This Brentford side are quite good at home. And then move on to Southampton versus Tottenham Hotspur. Discontent with Conte has been growing this season, and while they grabbed a win over Forest, those calls are still there, and will no doubt grow louder if they fail to beat the Saints. Southampton haven't been brilliant in this campaign either though, currently find themselves rooted to the bottom of the table. However, only 2 points separate them in 15th, so if they win this match they could leapfrog quite a lot of sides. This is like the perfect setup for Spurs to continue to cement their top 4 spot, but you know, Southampton looks like it could be a banana skin in true Spursy fashion, you know. I'm going to back Spurs, I'm going to say 2-0. While it very much could be a banana skin for Spurs, I think they'll just manage to overcome the Saints. While Spurs did ease past Forest, the Reds are really not great away from home, and I think they'll find Southampton a tougher test at St Mary's, but probably not much tougher to be honest. Then move on to Aston Villa versus Bournemouth. Another relegation zone side face off against a side around the top half of the league. It's Aston Villa hosting Bournemouth, the same Bournemouth side that shocked Villa on the opening weekend. Villa will be hoping that doesn't happen again, and to be fair, each side has different managers since that game week 1 clash. They're looking at very different sides. I'm going to say 2-1 to Villa. I think it'll be the same result in the reverse fixture here, just flipped around. Villa under Emery have been in some good goal scoring form, with Watkins especially excelling under the Spaniard. Bournemouth on the other hand, despite their position in the league, have been in decent goal scoring form, and have performed well against some top sides. It should be a good match, and despite league positions, these sides do seem quite evenly matched, so it should provide for good watching. And then we move on to Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Leeds United. 2 sides still in the clutches of the relegation zone, one more so than the other. Wolves have grabbed some vital points recently, which has seen them climb to 13th, whereas Leeds are still mired in the drop zone. It's a huge 6 points for both sides here, to help them survive the season. Both sides have been experiencing similar form, with Wolves just managing to grab more of those vital points, though Wolves are still struggling on that goal front, with them being joint lowest goal scorers this season. Leeds' overall goal scoring form is better than Wolves, but before their draw with Brighton, Leeds has only scored once in 4 league matches, so it's not looking great for either side. I'm going to say 0-0. I think we'll see a goalless draw in the West Midlands. As mentioned, both sides are struggling for goals this season, and while I do see that struggle continuing, there is every chance they could nick a goal, either side could nick a goal. Each team's form is all over the place, especially in recent times, which has put each side on more of an equal footing than their league position may lead you to believe. With 4 points separating either side, this really could go either way, but something's telling me this will be a goalless draw. And then move on to Chelsea versus Everton. Now Chelsea, they've started winning games again, currently enjoying a run of 3 in all competitions. Now it's not a long run, but it's a run nonetheless. It's a longer run than the one Everton are on, but both teams will want to build momentum as we approach the tail end of the season. Everton under Dyche set up well and know how to frustrate sides and make it hard for them. Chelsea on the other hand haven't been as effective as many thought, especially after that huge winter spending spree they went on, and looking at the quality of players they've brought in, they should have been doing better. But Potter looks to have worked his magic and Chelsea are now winning matches again, but still find themselves 10th. I'm going to say 2-1 to Chelsea. I do see Chelsea winning this match, as they'll be able to build on the wins they've claimed recently and try to claim a European spot come end of the season. Everton on the other hand have climbed out of the relegation zone recently, but they're not out of the woods yet, only sitting 1 point clear. It's a very important match for both sides, and it probably comes down to who wants it more, because we've seen Chelsea being defeated at Stamford Bridge before by sides like Southampton. So really, if Everton want it more, Everton could nick all 3 points here. But I do think Chelsea, you know, they've started winning games again. I think they'll beat Everton, but it's going to be a tough match for either side. And finally, the one Sunday fixture this week, as we see Arsenal take on Crystal Palace. The Gunners host Crystal Palace at the Emirates in a match which could prove very important for the Eagles. I say that as Palace just sit 5 points above the relegation zone and have not won a league match in the entirety of 2023. We're in March now. Palace's main struggle is scoring a goal, as they don't really have the quality to do that. They're really missing a quality goal scorer up front. I'm not sure why they've dropped off, but they have. Arsenal, on the other hand, are sitting 5 points clear at the top of the league and do not struggle to find the back of the net. I'm saying 3-0 to Arsenal. I don't really see Arsenal having much trouble with Palace. They currently seem very ineffectual both home and away, and if they're not careful, they could very much find themselves dragged into a relegation scrap. Arsenal will look to continue having that 5 point buffer between them and City to further extend their lead at the top of the table, as they look to claim their first league title in almost 20 years. And they're putting up a really good performance at the moment, so there's every chance they could do it, but we never know. They could bottle. Anyway, I've been O2GT, these have been my Game Week 28 predictions. Hopefully I get one right. If I only get one right, I want it to be the Forest one. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please leave your predictions in the comments below. I always enjoy seeing what people think. Not when they discount Forest, but you know, it is what it is. And anyway, yes, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.